Hi guys, Mindstone here, and today we'll be talking about the deck secret-mage, and the additions brought to it through Knights of the Frozen Throne. So first off, you see the list here. We'll just go through it card by card, and then we'll have an example game afterwards. So the first card in the list is Mana Worm. We're playing two copies of this, um, and it seems really obvious to me that we're playing two copies because for one, it's our only one drop, and it is also a very strong one drop because it has so many stat points for the mana cost. You pay 1 mana, you get 1 attack and 3 health. That's very hard to deal with on turn 1, and it actually can easily become a threat later in the game also if you combine it with a few spells. Yeah, so it's a super strong card because you can use it to fill curve, you can play it on curve as a super strong minion, and it's always really a little threat. We have quite a lot of spells, so the effect has quite an effect. It is quite dangerous too, yes. So, yes, next card up, Archaeologist. This card, we're going to read the text as draw a card. Battle card, draw a card. And in that way, it's a card which costs 2 mana, has 2/3 if stats, and draws a card, which is really good. Not much to argue with that, it's just super strong. There's that thing that it's a secret we draw, but we can actually make that an advantage rather than a disadvantage. First off, because if we play Mana Worm on turn 1, then the secrets we can play will impound the Mana Worm. Also, the secrets cost 3 mana, so they're on curve, which is quite nice. This will also mean that secret-mage is really good with Archaeologist. We'll get to that later. But it really makes for good curve. Okay, so the next card is Frostbolt. This is almost an auto-include in every mage deck ever because of the sheer power of dealing 3 damage for 2 mana, which is really good actually. Good flexibility at least. And then you also get the freeze effect, which is what makes Frostbolt really stand out as an exceptional card. And we've got Medea's Valet, and the Valets are there because they serve as 2/3 bodies and they serve as damage. You're not going to play them on curve. You never play Valet on curve. You never play Valet unless you get the effect. The effect is more than half of the Valet. The Valet doesn't matter in itself. It's all about the effect. It can be quite tricky with this deck to actually have the effect, and sometimes you won't get it, and you have to know that. It's something you see with experience, but often decks that have a lot of low cost things or play both minions and spells frequently, you're not going to get Valets to really work out against these decks because your secret's going to explode the turn you play them, and you don't get to play Valet very easily. The play around for this is really just playing a secret and then playing Valet on the same turn, but that's not always what you want to do, but often you're going to be looking at situations like that. A dream turn would be turn 5 current tall mage, secret, and Valet. That's really good if you can have that happening, but obviously there's a lot of good tempo swings you can make that way. So Valet, it's for the battle cry, really. We just have it as another 3 damage we deal. We can use it to finish off people too, and that's really nice. Okay, so next card up, Primordial Glyph. This card was like one of the really big additions from Ungoro. I think it was the single most important card for Mage and what was really pushing it to the top. And it just shows its strength in this deck too. The ability to discover any spell is, well, the ability to have any spell from it is good, but it really shines through the flexibility. That's a better word for it. Because when you play this, you actually have 3 cards you can choose from, and when you have this choice, you can easily adapt to the situation, which matters quite a lot. Also, it's 2 mana, and you get the discount too, which is super important too, because you can use it to ramp up to big things like Violence Potent and Flame Strike, or you can use it just to have something you would play anyways, and you don't really lose mana. So let's say you play it on turn 2, you get Frostbolt, and you kill something with the Frostbolt. That's fairly fine too. But it really depends on the matchup and the current situation, what you're going to be using the Primordial Glyphs for. Then we've got Pyros. Pyros is a tech card. We might as well say that at once, because Pyros is not mandatory for the deck. The thing Pyros does is he is a 2/2 for 2. That's not very good, but then he's also saying that we draw a card when he dies. So he's sort of a big loot hoarder, and we just get a 6/6 and a 10/10 out of nowhere from him, which is, well, the card's not that good in themselves, but there's so much value in Pyros that we'll just play him anyways, because we get these extra bodies without having to draw into them. So in that way, he matters quite a lot. So he's really just there to fill out your curve when you have nothing else, no other bigger tempo plays, you're just going to play Pyros. Sometimes you're going to play Pyros anyways, but that really depends on the situation and the way the interactive value lines up the best. Then we've got double Arcane Intellect, and this card's just for cycle. Yeah, the deck doesn't really have any other good ways of drawing cards. Nothing spectacular, at least. So, yeah, Arcane Intellect is just a nice card to run because we can get a few cards. We get a few cards, and it empowers Mana Worm too, which is really nice. Well, we actually, surprisingly often, this card is going to be the one empowering our Mana Worm. It's quite curious, I found, but I just feel like that's going to happen really often. I often find myself playing Mana Worm on turn 1, then coining out Arcane Intellect to make the Mana Worm a 3/3 and killing something with that. And yeah, that's just quite powerful. Then we've got Counterspell, which is one of our secrets. We're running Counterspell because it's probably the best secret out there, just because it's super disruptive and it's going to try to keep our board alive. There's a rule of Counterspell. You do never play Counterspell before you have seen the coin go out of your opponent's hand. It doesn't matter if you secret-mage it down and have 0 mana. If the coin is still in our opponent's hand, we will not play Counterspell. It doesn't matter how long we have to wait, we will not play it. The card is not worth it just to play. Obviously, there are exceptions, but this rule applies to 99.9% of all cases, so therefore we should follow it. We have to have a really good argument, at least, if we don't want to follow it. But we're running Counterspell because it's disruptive, it's going to protect our tempo, protect our board presence. That's what we want to do. Then we've got Mirror Entity. So this card, I've been wondering, could you swap it for the new card, Frozen Clone? And I've come to the conclusion you really can't. Because I think Frozen Clone is a better card. But Frozen Clone is a worse card in this deck. Because this deck wants to put a lot of tempo on the board and start hitting the enemy face and finishing them off fairly quickly. Where that's what Mirror Entity does, right? Because when our opponent plays something, we play something too. And that's nice. We get to play something for 3 mana. We don't know what we play, but usually we're getting it on average 2 mana. Sometimes we just win the game off Mirror Entity because we get something big and we can just kind of go crazy with that. But most often we get something which is like 2 or 3 mana, and that's fine. Then it's just, yeah. Maybe we've been cheating it out with secret-mage, and that way we get a lot of tempo through it. So yeah, it's the best secret because there's nothing better. Well, Counterspell's better, but we can't run 4 Counterspells, even though we'd like to do that. Yeah, so Mirror is just for more tempo and because none of the other secrets are good. On a side note, that thing with Frozen Clone, I think Frozen Clone's better in every deck which wants to play for value because you get a lot more value and you get the cards you're going to get, even though they might be low cost, sort of a 2 or 3 cost on average, you're usually going to be able to use their effects quite well and actually get something out of it. Also, it's a lot of fuel for you. So I think for value decks, Frozen Clone is probably better, but I don't think it's good enough for value decks though. So yeah, but still, Mirror Entity is the choice of this deck. I don't think it can be swapped unless you really like Ice Block. Then you might be able to do that, but not for this version. Because this version's like a little bit more minion oriented, so we want Mirror Entity here. Next card up, Fireball. Fireball's a must-have in this deck. No discussion. Nothing about that. It's 6 damage, 4 mana. We like that. It goes face. It kills big things. Yeah. There's not much to say. It's just good value for the mana. We will play it in every mage deck ever, almost. There's a few ones that don't, but these are weird. So the next card up, we're not having any 5-drops, so the next card is Faceless Summoner. This card is weird, right? Because it doesn't synergize with anything. It's just a big fat 5/5 and some on average 3/3 minion. I don't know, I haven't calculated, but I feel like that's about what you get all the time. So why do you play this? You play it because it's a heck a lot of stats. And it curves really nicely into turn 7, where we have Bone Mare. I'm going to get to that later. But Faceless Summoner is just good for populating the board. Sometimes you high roll and you get a 4/7 out of it, and then, well, the game is not over from there, but you're really, really well going then. But, well, it can go both ways. So this card, like, yeah, it's just, you play it for being a big fatty on turn 6, and that's nice. Often you're going to want to play it on turn 6, or not, because it can be too slow at times, too. Well, next card, Cabal Crystal Runner. This card is in the deck for being cheated out. You never play it on 6 mana unless you have absolutely nothing else to do. You will play this card for maybe 4 mana on curve, or you'll play it for 2 mana when it fills the curve, or you'll play it for 0 mana when the time's right. That's about what you do. But most often you're just going to get it on, well, one of these occasions, because you've played 1, 2, or 3 secrets. And if you top deck it for late game, it's just 0 cost, which is nice. Even though you don't really care what it costs if you get into the, well, end game. But often, if you get there, you're going to lose anyway, so you don't really care. Never mind, it's just, you play it because it's nice stats for low cost, because you're often going to play secrets because you have a chronologist. You're going to get to draw them. So, next card up, Bone Mare. Bone Mare is a new card from the current expansion, that is the Frozen Throne. This card is what I think pushes Secret Mage into a more minion-oriented direction, because it's super powerful. It's just, the card is too good, and the deck has to adapt to play it. Yeah, there isn't really much to it. It's just super, super strong. Playing the 5/5 is good. Getting plus 4/4 and taunting something else is insane. And if you get the 5/5 too, obviously. So yeah, I almost have to say this card is an auto-include in any mid-range deck that can fit it. Yeah, it's about an auto-include at least. Well, next card up, Firelands Portal. 5 damage, a 5-drop. That's just good tempo. It's been proven to be a very consistent card, and yeah, it's just, you can use it for finishing people, or you can use it for killing things. So, good flexibility there, and often 5-drops are fine. So, pretty solid card there. Then our big finisher, the Lich King. This card is actually kind of weird, because he is not really doing a lot of damage when you play him, and he's not that good for a defensive card, because he costs so much, and doesn't really do all that much instantly, except for being an 8/8 taunt. But he is probably our only value engine apart from Pyros. So we're going to use him in these against decks that are very close to us in value, let's say Wolf Shaman or something, and we're just going to jam this guy down. And if he sticks for more than one turn, then I think he just wins us the game, because the cards he gives get a lot of tempo going when you play them. Let's just say Death and Decay is like Consecration on spell damage, which for 1 less mana, which is, that says something about how good the tempo for this card is. And also, the deck is kind of fat, so you kind of like the Army of the Dead, so you can pull out things from your deck, even though that's one of my least favorite options. Yeah, but that was about the deck. I would probably make the mention of, you can play this deck as a spell-oriented version too, where you play Arcane Giants and Ice Blocks, but I am more like this version. I think it's a little bit better. The other version is more like Burn and such, and yeah, well, never mind it. I like this one a little bit better. So yeah, I think we'll jump straight into an example game. Hey guys, so here we are, going into the example game with Jaina and the little secret mage deck. So, another mage, but it is Medivh.
Let the games begin.
Ooh, this hand. This hand seems really good. Because we got the mana worm on turn 1, and then we might actually have a turn 2 current toll plus counterspell. He won't have coin also, which means we can counterspell pretty safely. Which does matter quite a lot. We can get punished by a mana worm on turn 1 though, which is something we gotta pay attention to, but seeing the open the Wayne gate, I think we're pretty safe. However, we are going to expect Doomsayers in this deck, so we might be a little bit careful with Mirror Entity.
I hope you like my invention.
Right now we're just gonna squeeze out the counterspell because it's free, and we want that 4/3 on the board. Yeah, so we're actually having a lot of damage going right now. This is a really good start. And against Quest Mage, you just want to pressure as much as you can, really, because the Quest Mage will very quickly win the game if you don't. So now we can hope he does not pop the secret, which would mean Medivh's Valet will come down next turn. But we'll see. We had to clear the Doomsayer, obviously, because we don't want to lose the board. Okay, so the counterspell here is really, really good, because we stop Primordial Glyph. That's super potent. So here, we're just pinging the 1/1 and going phase, because we want to make sure that we can do a secret and Medivh's Valet next turn. We don't expect second Doomsayer, so I think Mirror Entity is fine. Even though we would rather see Counterspell. Looking at the 6 damage, it's not quite enough to kill him. We're getting pretty close. But I think right now, if he clears the board with that Doomsayer, that's actually okay, because we're just going to play face a Summoner and maybe even have Lethal next turn then. So I think we're pretty safe right now. This is a really good start, and we are actually having a lot out of it, almost killing him by turn 6. Also, it's fairly lucky being able to have all this burn already. So 2 secrets. We're going to anticipate that's going to be Ice Bearer and Ice Block. So 18 health, and we've got 8 damage on the board. So we cannot kill him this turn, which is something we ought to be aware of. And I think we'll just do the face of Summoner, because we can't push him down anyways. So we gotta live with the risk taking here. I think the burn version is a little bit better against Secret Mage, because you don't rely that much on the board, which is what Exodia Mage will punish. So right now we get a little bit punished for having a big board and nothing else. But we're just gonna start throwing these violence portals at him, and there should not be any problems. Because we can pop him next turn and then fireball him to death. And he has to do something. This is like the last turn he has freed up to do things. And he's only played, well, no spells actually. And now we actually got the Mirror Entity out of the way, which is really good, because that means he won't be able to Doomsayer us. Which does free up our mana for something else in burn, and it also means that we can actually pop the block more efficiently, so we don't require the burn.
Right away.
However, I believe if we need burn, we have lots of it. So this should be a pretty safe game. I think to win this one, you would probably have to have Antonidas, double Capitalist Tome, double Apprentice, and double Molten Reflection. And I don't even think that would be enough. But there's a chance. Now, that was not the case, so we do get to punish it. That's definitely Ice Block, because we haven't seen both of them, and there were no more secrets. So I don't think there is a world where you don't play Ice Block there. We'll just get some card draw going. We don't really care about playing Bone Mare, because we don't need board presence to kill him at this point. What we really need is finding an Ice Block, because that prevents him from ever killing us. So now, even though he manages to pull off the OTK combo, we would still stay at 1 health, probably, and we would be able to kill him next turn. So we should not be able to lose this right now, in any scenario, unless he found another Ice Block from, let's say, Primordial Glyph or Capitalist Tome. But it didn't happen, he didn't really have time for that. So this is how the deck plays. This game you saw, it had a really aggressive start, which is what you want to do, but it's not very common to have it that aggressive start and not having it contested in any way. He played Loot Hoarder, which wasn't really actual contention. We would have expected something like Doomsayer, or Archaeologist usually, which would have been shutting out our aggro quite a lot earlier. But that didn't happen, so we actually had a really strong game. We also counterspelled Glyph, which was fine. Even though Glyph cost less than Counterspell, I think Glyph is so important, so it actually feels kind of okay. But I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and I will see you in my next video.